So the flanges are big, long pieces. They are, the fold is the shoulder. There's two. So I have two pieces of paper that are on the fold. So I'm going to create two very long flanges. The flanges, I have my side front bodice, are going to get sandwiched in between the sides and centers. So that's my side front bodice, or side front. This is my center front, and the flange is going to get sandwiched in between these two, gathered, and then the other half, because this is on the fold, will get sandwiched in between the side back and center back along this princess seam. So therefore, for this straight edge that gets sandwiched in between the two bodices, that's going to be 1/2 inch seam allowance. And then for this long curved edge, I mean they're both long, that is going to get whatever seam allowance you are going to use in order to create your narrow roll hem. And so throughout this whole project, I've been using the 5/8 seam allowance that we do for the manual narrow rolled hem that we show in 1A. In the textbook, they call it the chiffon hem. It's in chapter 11, probably around page 175. So we're going to have 5/8 on the side that's straight. I'm sorry, 5/8 on the side that's curved. Hem. And then we're going to have 1/2 inch on the side that's straight, because that's what gets sandwiched in to the princess seams. And then let's see if we can see this on camera, my muslin version. So let me turn it the other way. So this fold is here at the shoulder. And the curve edge is actually out here, so maybe this is better to show. Yeah. Like this. So this straight edge is sewn in here. This fold here is this fold here. This curved edge is this hemmed edge out here. And this straight edge is this straight edge here that's getting sandwiched in between the bodices. So this is my front bodice piece, and then underneath this flange here, that's my side bodice piece. So that's how this is going to work. So I'm going to remove all these things. Oh, and then one other thing that will help us, which we talked about when we did the pattern, are the gather control notches to help us gather evenly. So this section will get gathered into this section will get gathered into this section, and this section here. So that's why we have these notches, and we'll have a notch up here at the shoulder as well to help us control it. Okay, so let me move all my pieces and draw some really long. So my long ruler is great for this. Move some stuff off my table for a sec. I have a little brush for this, but I don't see it. It must be in my basket under my table. But I have a little crumb brush to get rid of all this debris. All right, so 1/2 inch seam allowance along this long edge. maybe my stapler will be helpful to hold my paper down flat, because I had it bent in a envelope. There we go. So 1/2 inch seam allowance all along this edge. And then 5/8 along this edge. So because this is curved, I'll use a shorter ruler. My alarm just went off that it's time for me to take a break. So as soon as I finish this, I will take my break. You too should plan when you're going to do your work and make sure that you decide too when you're going to take your breaks, because if you don't take breaks, you just all of a sudden start making mistakes because your body just needs a freaking break. Gotta be nice to yourself. Otherwise, you make mistakes and then everything takes even longer. Thought it would, and longer than it should. All right, so 5/8 seam allowance along the curved edge for my narrow rolled hem. Okay, so here, this is going to vanish into nothing, into the seam. We don't need all of this hem allowance, so a bunch of this is going to get trimmed or disappear. So I am just going to give us, let's see, I would love to fold it, but I don't think I can because of this guy here. So I'm just going to give us 1/2 inch seam allowance here. We'll just lop that off. And then I'll put a notch here so that we know that this is where the white paper ends. All right. And then let's find those scissors and cut this big long guy out. I have him stapled down good. And then I'm just going to cut past the 1/2 inch seam allowance that I drew, just so that I can contemplate my life choices before committing. Once I get some of this excess cut away, maybe I will decide that I want to fold the paper when I don't have so much to deal with, and figure out how I really want this little tail to be shaped. Like what will actually make sense when I go to try and sew this thing. I don't want to like too much extra. I mean, I know I have to trim some away, but I don't want too much extra to deal with. So I'll just leave that tail, and then once I have this cut out, we'll just kind of pretend to sew by folding the paper. I don't know if you can hear like that weird squeaking noise. I don't know if you can hear that. That's my cat snoring. So I'm going to pull the sample up here. So here's my flange, and my seam allowance is flat going away, and then it disappears into nothing here right where the princess seam and the yoke intersect. So all of this gets folded back. So it's kind of like I have an 1/8 folded back here at this little tip. And then another 1/8 folded back at this little tip to create my double roll hem. And then the rest of this gets trimmed off. So what I was thinking for this end is I just fold these over and see. So this finishes into nothing right there. So that's already folded over. That's my seam allowance, so I can cut it right at the tip. And then leave myself, go ahead and zoom in on that. Put something heavy on it so it doesn't run away from me while I'm zooming. So I need that for my seam allowance. I need this for my, or this is my hem. This is my seam allowance. So, and this is where I want it to vanish into nothing. So this will be hemmed, and then this is going to get sewn. So that's what I can do for my seam shaping, is just fold my hem allowance back. So that's all cut out now. Let's go ahead and zoom back out so we can see the whole thing. And then we'll finish up our notch. There's no notches on this edge that's going to be hemmed because it doesn't sew to anything, it just gets hemmed. But I do need to transfer my notches for controlling the gathering and matching it up to the bodice. So when I made the pattern, I doubled what the notches, the ease control notches were, distance between ease control notches on my front bodice, and that's what I used to create these control notches here. And then I use that same amount on the back bodice so that I didn't have to make this pattern right side up, and I didn't have to worry about which was the front and which was the back, just to simplify my life when I went to sew this. And then I'll also need notches right on the fold. So let me zoom in for that. So not on the curved edge that's hemmed, but on the straight edge where I have my ease control notches, on that edge, right on these folds. So each of the 2 folds, I need to stick my notcher into that fold and notch right on the fold. So notch on the fold, and this is what I'm going to line up with my shoulder seam when I go to sew that, gather this flange and sew it in. So notch right on the fold. All right, flange done. Break time. See you in the next video. Oh, one more thing. Almost break time. I have my grain line drawn here, and I have my label on this piece but I have 2 pieces. So I also need to draw my grain line and put my label on this second piece in case they get separated, so I know what they are. So I already have that printed out. So flange, where are you? Center back bodice, side back, side front, pocket. So my other flange, unless I put it under here, which I don't think I did, it's in my other envelope, so I'll have to go find my other label so that I can put it on this. But remember to label your flanges.